Our next destination has 4 churches, 1 convent, all in a town of only 2,800. Now this begs the question, I think, are they filling all those churches? Turns out, maybe not. After yesterday's walk, our route today has a few more points of interest along the way. The exit from little Calzadilla de la Cueza takes just a few minutes. Calle Mayor brings us to Highway N120, where we cross the Rio Cueza and the road to its west shoulder. If nothing else, the tree-lined trail starts out pleasantly. Not too far out of town, we can see in the distance the ruins of Santa Maria de las Tiendas, once a monastery and pilgrim hospital. It's really not worth the detour. About 4 kilometers or so since leaving Calzadilla, we come across this simple picnic area on the other side of the highway. It's all wonderful until I sneak off for the bushes. Okay, someone's got to say this. Toilet paper. Now, I'm guessing 99% of it is from women. It doesn't really matter. My gosh, do you need to leave it on the ground like this? You think it's going to disintegrate in a couple of hours? No, it's going to take weeks, maybe months. And in the meantime, the rest of us have to see your soiled toilet paper. So why not follow leave no trace? Pack it out, or if there's a trash can nearby, put it in the trash can. It can't be that hard. Gosh, it felt good to say that. Continuing, most of the trees disappear and the way opens up along farmland. The rural vibe takes us to Badijos, population 70-ish, where we start to see adobe buildings made with mud and straw bricks. If you left this morning before breakfast was served, there is an albergue/bar with its connection to the outside world in case you missed it for some reason. After a glass of Zumo, or orange juice, we return to the highway and more fields. The route then comes to Terradillos de los Templarios. As the name suggests, the Knights Templar, guardians of all things Pilgrim for nearly 200 years, had a 13th century church here. As many Camino travelers do, we take a short detour to the church with its Gothic crucifix and a story that's applicable to many of the churches along our path. This is something I found interesting. In 2021, of all the people arriving in Santiago after walking the Camino, 30% said they did it for purely
religious reasons. So I guess we could label them pilgrims in the historical sense. Another 45% said they did it for either religious or spiritual reasons, and I guess we could assume that a lot of them came into Santiago with maybe some kind of enlightenment. Finally, there was a mere 24% who said they did it for other reasons, such as adventure or maybe just the feeling of accomplishment. Now, maybe we can assume that those first two categories at the very least visited a lot of churches along the way. And that comes up against another kind of unknown statistic, and that is only 14% of Spaniards attend Mass each week. That means, perhaps, that there's more pilgrims entering the churches than parishioners.
As if to remind us of the Knights Templar heritage, as we leave the village, there's this seemingly cobbled together sculpture of a knight. We continue on a dirt path past, yep, you guessed it, more fields. It can be a pleasant stroll if you like rolling hills and quiet. After about 3 kilometers since Terradillos, we walk through Moratinos, another village whose apparent reason for existence is now agriculture and Camino travelers. The albergue and bar here has an almost resort feel to it. The gravel road tours more farmland under amazing big Meseta skyscapes. We pass through tiny San Nicolas del Real Camino with its adobe 18th century Iglesia de San Nicolas de Bari. The route again parallels Highway N120, and near an interchange with Highway A231, there's this monument marking our passage through Palencia.
Hola! Hola! Australia! From the very moment you hit the Camino, you can't avoid people telling you, Buen Camino. It's like one member of a tribe saying to another, hey, you're one of us. Or if the local townspeople say it to you, it means you're one of them, but in a nice way. Now, during the Middle Ages, the saying was ultrea, which is Latin for ultra, and somehow the pilgrims molded that into forward or farther forward. And then the person they were saying that to would say, Asosea, which meant upward. So, in a way, the phrase ended up being farther forward and upward. It was a way of encouraging each other because, let's face it, back then, hiking the Camino was a lot more difficult. Now, it's up to you whether you say Buen Camino or Ultrea. I happen to prefer the latter because, I don't know, for some reason, it sounds more meaningful to me.
We're almost there. From here, there is a short, quiet section before we continue along the N120 and then cross the Rio Valdeorado Way. which is about 20 kilometers from the day's start. Thankfully, we leave the highway on a dirt track, which takes us to the Ermita Virgen del Puente, once a hospital for pilgrims and a leper colony. It is also the geographic midpoint of the Camino Frances. Finally, 3 kilometers later, we come to Sahagun, starting in a somewhat dreary side of town before getting to the more picturesque streets and churches.